Right, so the most important trig identity that we'll learn and you'll use again and again is to do with sine and cos. So let's use this. So this circle has a radius of 1. So 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1. Now if I draw a right angled triangle and I make this side length a half, that means that the hypotenuse is 1. Now by Pythagoras, we know that a right angled triangle, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So in this triangle we have 1 and a half, and this is our opposite side. Well, if we want to find out how long the opposite side is, we do 1 squared minus 1/2 squared, which is 1 minus a quarter, which is 3/4, and that's my b squared. And then I take the square root of 3/4, which is the square root of 3 over 2. And that is my opposite side. Right, now let's think about sine and cos. So in this example, sine and cos are okay, so sine, both of them have a hypotenuse of 1. For the cos, it has an adjacent side of a half, and for sine, it has an opposite side of square root of 3 over 2. Okay, so now if I take sine and I square it, and I add cosine and I square it, I get square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1, which is the square root of 3 over 2, and I square that. For cosine, I've got a half over 1, which is a half, and I square that. So I've got the square root of 3 over 2 squared, which is 3 over 4. I've got a half squared, which is a half times a half, which is a quarter, and then it equals 1. Okay, if we take another example, if I draw a right angle triangle, now where my length is 3/4. Okay, in my unit circle again. Again, remember, this is a right angle triangle. This is that. In the same way, if I take my triangle and I work out the opposite side, I've got 1, I've got 3/4. So 1 squared minus 3/4 squared will equal my b squared. So that's 1 minus 9 over 16, which leaves me with 7 over 16. And then I take the square root of 7 over 16, which is the square root of 7 over 4. And that is now my opposite side. Again, if we think about sine and cos, my sine is going to be, both of them are going to have a hypotenuse of 1. My sine, we just found out, has got an opposite side of the square root over 4, and my cosine has an adjacent side of 3/4. So again, sine squared plus cosine squared would be the square root of 7 over 4 all squared plus 3/4 all squared. Well, square root of 7 squared is 7, 4 squared is 16. If I add 3/4 squared, that's 9 over 16. And when I add those together, I get 16 over 16, which is 1. So in general, if I have a right angle triangle, then if my hypotenuse is 1 and my sides are A and B, using Pythagoras, 1 squared minus a squared equals b squared, and the square root of b squared equals b equals my opposite side. Then my sine is always going to be b over 1, and my cosine is always going to be a over 1, and when I take sine squared plus cosine squared, I'm going to get b squared plus a squared equals 1, which equals hypotenuse. So this identity, that sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1, we will use again and again through the course.